Hey everyone, some tips on how to manage your long distance relationship and make it really successful. We all know that relationships are very difficult to keep, very difficult to manage, especially when it becomes a distant relationship. If you have issues in your relationship with someone you're seeing physical, someone who is in an actual physical relationship, then you can begin to imagine what happens in a long distance relationship. So, because I have had a long experience in a long distance relationship, I thought it wise to share some of the tips that have been of help to me over the years with those of you who are interested, or some of you who are in long distance relationships who are facing it difficult to handle things, to manage things, and constantly having fights and all of. Let's just go from here. The number one thing I want to talk about long distance relationship that can really help you to make your long distance relationship work is communication. In all human relationships, we have heard time and again that communication is the key to all relationships. If you want to make it work, then you must communicate. But in a long distance relationship, I would not just say communication is key, I will add that effective communication is key. Now, what I mean by effective communication is that you will not just have someone send you a text message and you respond to it, let's say 2-3 days after, or 2-3 hours after, for something that is very very urgent and things like that. When you are in a long distance relationship and you want to make it work, you must be effective communication. You have to listen, you have to be ready to put in that sacrifice. Now, the distance already has made it very difficult for the relationship to really work out. So you have to put in the hard work to make sure that it works. Those of us in long distance relationships are, how should I put it? If we are succeeding in long distance relationship, I think in a physical relationship, we are not going to have any issue, because it is a lot more difficult in a distant relationship than it is in a physical relationship. I don't know your opinion, but that is what I think. Yeah. So you have to be effective in your communication. Don't just communicate when you feel like it. No. You should be intentional in how you communicate. You don't communicate when you are free, when you feel like it. Like I said, when you feel like it, that is when you communicate. No. Communication must be done intentionally and effectively. That is to say, if you have a busy schedule, or you or preview that your tomorrow is going to be very busy, probably you may not have time to call your partner like you two have always been keeping that communication. You may not have time to take call, you'll be in a meeting or so, then place a call across, leave a text message explaining reasons why you will not be able, or you will not be available at that particular time. That is how you communicate effectively. And if you do that in a long distance relationship, it is going to work. It is going to work. Yeah. The second thing, now I want to say that all of these things I'm mentioning here are effective, will work out for both physical and long distance relationship. But I'm just being particular about long distance relationships because it is a lot more difficult to manage long distance relationships. Like I've said, communication in physical actual relationships, we all need to communicate. So in distant relationship, you have to step your game up a little, to make it work. So the second thing I want to talk about is trust. This one, trust is that one thing that if you don't have in a long distance relationship, then my dear, kukuma pack your bags, it will not work. It will not work, because when you call and they don't pick, in your head, that your trust issue will be telling you probably she's with another man, probably he's with another girl, and all of that. But if it's someone you trust, if you are someone who trusts you, if you trust your partner, you will not give in to that second voice. You will not give in to that that how should I put it? You will not give in to that fear. You will not give in to assumptions. You know that they are busy, or they could be doing this, or they're probably not around their phone and all of that. You will not just judge it to be that they are doing something that is not right. So if you have trust issues, particularly long distance relationships are not for you. You cannot handle it. You will not be able to handle it. It will be taking you like this roller coaster of emotions. Today you're happy and smiling, you're fine. Tomorrow you are angry, like somebody who is having a bipolar disorder, it's difficult for you to manage a long distance relationship if you have trust issues. So you have to deal with that before engaging or before trying to work on your long distance relationship. The third point, let me consult my book. The third point we will look at is commitment. You have to be committed. You have to be so engaged in your relationship to make it work. If you want to make a long distance relationship work, you have to be 100% committed. Committed in the sense that you have a responsibility to making it work. Now, you don't only expect your partner or the other person to constantly try and put in the work to make efforts and you just sit. In a long distance relationship, it is hard work. It is hard work. Commitment here will demand that some days, as busy as your schedule might look like, you squeeze out time to talk and be intentional and just smile and just throw one joke and say talk to you later. That is how committed you are. You will not give excuses. Yeah, some of the excuses can be very genuine. Yes, you are right, you are correct, you are busy, but you could still do something if you are a very committed person in that relationship. That is why I watched a video. They say you can never be too busy for the one you love. You create time, you make time. Now, this can only happen in relationships where the both parties are very committed to each other, committed in that relationship, committed to seeing that that relationship works. You have to be engaged. You have to be, what's the other word I should use? Committed. You have to be engaged. And what else? I hope you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. So we have talked about communication. We've talked about trust. We have talked about you being committed. Let's check the fourth point. The fourth point you have to check is intentionality. Say things and mean them. You have to be intentional. If you have to make your long distance relationship work, take this from me, you have to be intentional. There is no jokes here. Oh, I was just joking when I said that. No. It can work for people who are in actual physical relationships, but some of us who are in relationships where you don't get to see you, we don't know, we cannot really tell, because there is something about communication. I have learned, I am a counselor, I've learned that, I have read that communication is 90% non-verbal. So some of the times, we who are in distant relationship end up having just that 10% that is verbal, because you are on phone, you are talking, we are just getting, we don't get to see your non-verbals, we don't see it. So if you're going to say anything, you have to mean what you're saying to make it work. Be intentional. If you say 1 + 1 is 2, let it be 2. Don't wake up tomorrow and say, no, you said this because no, it's not going to work that way. It's not going to work that way. Yes, it cannot work that way in a long distance relationship. Now, in a physical relationship, I could throw that kind of slang or make that kind of sentence or that kind of statement, and you see my facial expression. You can judge that I don't mean what I am saying, right? But in a distant relationship, we don't have that luxury. We don't enjoy it like that. That is why you have to mean whatever you say. Let your actions, let your words match with your action. It's going to work that way. So, the other point we are going to look at is, I think that's the fifth point, you have to be accommodating. In a long distance relationship, you have to be accommodating. Be someone who doesn't carry grudges for too long. Just to forgive. Create room for errors and don't overthink about it. Sometimes when you think a lot, you put 1 and 2, everything is just going. Especially women. Immediately we start suspecting something. We will go back to last week's chat. We will start thinking about this thing that he said. We will even start having dreams about those things. And that is how the things are just aligning. They are all falling into place. When they once scatter your relationship, all things you put, and so you just the answer, you just the go. So you have to develop a heart that forgives. Be forgiving. Be ready. Be willing to accommodate some things. And then when you say you are forgiven, forget about it. Now, it's very difficult to forget, but don't go back to it. Don't visit past mistakes, past errors, things that you say you are forgiven. Don't go back to them. Just learn to be accommodative like that. Be accommodating. And in a long distance relationship, if you have that, you are geared to succeed. You're there for the right part, they go. So the next point we are going to look, I said we have 7 points, right? So the next point, that was the 5th point. I talked about being accommodating. And the 5th point we are going to look at is that you have to be more sensitive. If you're in a long distance relationship and you want it to work, you have to be more sensitive. You're going to be sensitive in the sense that if I am talking to you and I am not in a very good mood, you are not seeing me, let's say it's not a video call, you are not seeing me, but from my tone, you can begin to think, you can begin to deduce that there is a problem. And for women, most times, when we are not ready to talk, when you ask, you don't sound good, what is the problem? Our gentle answer is always, I'm okay, I'm fine. But we are not fine in the real sense of it. We are not fine. That's my agenda for you. So you have to be a little more sensitive. You have to be sensitive enough to pick those signals and say, okay, probably you are not just in the mood to talk about it now, we'll talk about it later. Most times women say they are not fine. Most times women say they are fine when they are not fine, just because we want to see that you are intentional in knowing. That's how we judge. That's how we see that you love us. So after being sensitive, I said you should be sensitive, a little bit more sensitive, be more sensitive than you will be in an actual physical relationship. If you want to make a long distance relationship work, then you have to be very sensitive. Develop your sensitivity skills. You need it. Yeah. So the last point I'm going to talk about is that you have to be generous. Be willing to give. Giving should not just be done from one way. Giving should not just be a one-way thing. Yes. When you receive, be ready, be willing to reciprocate the gift. It must not be the same gift, but there is no love without giving, right? If you love someone, you should be willing to gift the person. There are different things for men. Physical, material things may not really count, but not that if you give them they will not appreciate it, but some of them want more. They prefer other gifts than material, physical things. You understand? So just know what works for your partner and know the kind of gift that will help, or that he or she will appreciate. Thank you so much. Please like the video, share the video, follow this page, follow this account, subscribe to my channel, and all that good stuff. I love you guys. I hope that one day we'll have a very successful life without the network cuts and everything. It would have been more enjoyable and interactive if we were a live video. But notwithstanding, I hope the message has gone through.